Okay, here we go. That's more like it. Bear with me. All right, what's up? What's going on? Hello, everyone. Welcome back. You've not missed anything. If you're scrolling across me right now, you've not missed a thing. I've literally just fired up the stream. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to try and get as many people in here as possible, get some good conversations going on. Please just double tap to boost the stream for the moment. The more you double tap, the more people TikTok will send in here. Let's try to get to 10K likes to begin with. That's when they first send you a big flood of viewers. So give me a hand if you can be bothered. I'd very much appreciate it. Question today is, which God do you believe in and why? I'm interested in hearing your story, why it is that you so far have been convinced of the God or the religion, maybe the gods that you have so far. I was religious when I was a kid. I was a Christian, a little Christian boy. And I have been deconstructing for a long time now. I don't think religion is a good idea. I think it's psychologically damaging. I think it is emotionally abusive. I think it is a tool of coercion and manipulation. And I'd love to help you recognize the ways in which it might be manipulating or controlling or psychologically damaging you. So please, chime in. Mark Renton, lovely to see you, mate. Diver Life, yo, right back at you. Right back at you. Anyone who's in here right now, thank you so much. Please just double tap the stream to boost this. The more people we get in here, the more conversations we get to have, and the better the stream is. Usually we've got a few hundred people in here, and we get tens of thousands of likes. It kind of pops off on the reg. So if you want to be part of that, please stick around, hang out. User says, Uma Ren, not sure what that means, but there is only one God, the I Am. Is there a religion based on the worship of that God? Can you tell me? Does that God have a name that we might be familiar with? Who are you talking about? Period says, my fave debater. Hey, that's a massive, massive compliment. There are some really terrific debaters on here, I don't really consider myself to be that much of a debater, honestly. I try to use debate skills as best I can. But for you to say something like that, that's very humbling. Thank you very much. Wow. I do not see myself that way, but I really do appreciate that. You are so calm. I feel calm watching you. Oh, I'm really glad, I'm really glad. I think that there are a lot of people doing these kinds of live streams who are doing a pretty good job. I don't know that they're all particularly calm though. Hey, yeehaw. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. Some of them are really calm, cool, collected, but I think a lot of them get pretty worked up pretty quickly, and I don't think that's really particularly helpful, in my opinion. I don't know. That's just an opinion. Yes, I did upgrade to the fork today. Someone recommended it, and I've got to tell you, I'm loving it so far. It feels like a significant step up. Thank you for noticing. Tess asks, what does my hat say? My hat says, Stray from the Path. It's a band. They're just like my favorite band, Kylie Jenner says, do you think you can believe in a God but not label yourself with a religion? It's a great question. By definition, religion is the belief in and worship of a deity or deities. So if you believe in a God and you worship it, then you are by definition religious. You could be, hey, thank you so much, man. You could be a believer in a deity and not worship it, and then I guess by definition you wouldn't technically be religious. But most people that I encounter or speak to here, yeah, they're definitely religious, even if they don't call themselves religious, because they both believe in a God and they worship one. Tessa asks, what happened to all of my posts? Oh, I put them on private because I figured I'd rather focus in on this particular topic rather than my music as well. I might have another account for my music one day in the future. I don't know. Thank you so much, everyone, so far for being in here. Please just double tap the screen. The more likes we get, the more people are going to get sent in here, and the more conversations we can have, the better the stream is. Thank you so much for anyone who's participated already. I'm very, very grateful for your time. I really do mean it. Ray Latoof says, Jesus will be the final judge. Read all books. Look, I am not convinced. I have read the Bible, and I do not find it convincing. We can talk about it, though. Patrick says, I'm Catholic. Is it wrong? Look, when you say wrong, do you mean like morally wrong or factually incorrect? Tell me. Personally, I don't think it's morally correct. I also don't think that it's likely to be historically accurate either. But we can talk about it, you know. What do I believe? I believe lots of things, you know. I believe that mathematics is a more or less universal language. I think that the laws of logic are pretty reliable. I believe that what I'm experiencing right here with you is real. I don't think I'm likely to be dreaming all of this or hallucinating it or anything. You know, I think this is reality. I believe in what science can prove to us to be true. I believe in a thing called love. Just listen to the rhythm of my heart. There's a chance we can make it now. We'll be rocking till the sun goes down. You know what I mean? Ray Latoof says, it's in the Bible and the Quran. Jesus will be the final judge, LOL. I've read the Quran too. I also don't think the Quran is a very good book, historically speaking, or morally either. But we can talk about that too. I'm happy to talk about it. Desperately Seeking, interesting username, says, do you believe science is everything? No, I don't believe science is everything. A common misconception amongst many people, particularly the religious, is that science is like the universe. Like, hey, Tyler, we've got a VIP in the chat, everyone. Tyler, big ups. Shout out to Tyler. Cool to have you, mate. A common misconception, particularly among religious people, is that science is the universe or something, or at least that's what scientists are trying to say. That's not true. Science is literally just a process. It's a method. Science is a set of steps that someone can follow in order to determine how likely something is to be accurate. That's what science is. So, no, I don't think science is everything. I think that science is the best method that we have for discovering what's true and or likely to be true and accurate. That's what I think. Dylan Price asks, I forgot your beliefs, man. You're agnostic atheist, right? Yes, that's right. I'm an agnostic atheist. So I don't believe in any gods, and I also don't claim to know that there can or can't be any of them. I base my beliefs on sufficient and compelling evidence, you know? Opium says, but science doesn't have an answer to everything. That's absolutely correct. Science also doesn't claim to have the answer to everything. Science claims very, very openly to be continually looking for the best answer to whatever question it is that we're asking. Science doesn't claim to know everything. The more we learn about the universe, the more questions we have to continue looking for answers to. It's fantastic. It's great fun. It's like a never-ending puzzle. Desperately Seeking says, does God need evidence to exist? It's an interesting question. Do you think that things that don't have any evidence for them should be considered to exist? You tell me. Jack Lawrence, Master Jack, it's lovely to see you, mate. It's going really well on this fine evening. I hope your evening is going just fine too. Thank you, mate. Thanks for your time. Thanks so much to everyone for tapping away. and keeping those likes rolling in. The more you tap, the more people are going to come in, and the more conversations we get to have. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We've got someone in here, I think. Can you hear me? Hello? Testing.
Yeah, band this time.
Hello,
Can you hear me?
Is this Brian Soroselli by any chance?
I yes. Yeah. You
Amazing.
remember last time I got banned? Not even 5 minutes in.
I do, I do. It's unfortunate, but it's part of the game up here. It's what happens, you know. Man, it's lovely to have you back on here. I won't talk with you too long if you don't mind, only because I prefer to speak with people who do still believe, just so we can kind of go over the evidence in front of a bit of an audience. However, given that you're up here right now, I'd love to hear about how you've been and how the last kind of, few weeks or months have been since we've started kind of deconstructing your religion. What's been going on?
Yeah, say I can definitely drop out so I can just give you a quick update so you can get the show on the road. But yeah, I say it's been pretty rough since then because like I said, I was a Christian for over 20 years, so it's
Yeah,
still a pain in the RC
yeah,
to try and balance what I used to believe in with not even knowing what I'm believing in now,
yeah.
essentially.
I fully respect that
I
struggle.
I
You know, I think that's something that is really difficult to communicate to people who were never indoctrinated into a religion is just how psychologically and emotionally challenging it is to have to completely uproot your experience of reality to replace it with one that actually makes sense. It is incredibly difficult. It's so strenuous, and you have to acknowledge and process so much emotional and psychological trauma. And I want you to know, man, that I see that. I've been through it. I'm still going through a lot of it, and this is like years out. And I see the struggle, man. You're not alone. You're far from being alone in it, mate.
yeah, because I remember when we first talked, I think I was the first one to actually start the deconstruction during the live, if I remember correctly.
That's it, man. You were the first person that I'd ever had
And
up here who was actually realizing it in the moment.
yeah, because like at that point in time, I feel like I've always questioned it, but since I started it,
Yeah,
I'm like, now did I ever believe, or did I just accept the beliefs? And now that's where I said, like, again, doing that for 20 years, it kind of, I guess you could say, blended together with, I'm not sure if I really did, but I just accepted it anyway. But then you look at everything else now, you look back at everything, you take a dive into it, you realize, like, what in the hell did I believe
yes.
that when you look more into it is pretty dark and messed up, and that I can't really support something that has the monstrosities that's in that text.
It's horrific, isn't it? Something that I say as regularly as I get a chance to on here is to all Christians and all religious people in general is please actually read the whole book that you're saying you defend. I I can't tell you how high the percentage is. I think it's probably close to 100% of the religious people that come up here and defend their book who haven't actually read the whole thing. They don't know what it says about slavery. They don't know what it says about misogyny and sexism. They don't know what it says about infanticide, you know, genocide. They haven't read the whole thing and they really have no idea what it is that they're actually defending. And yeah, I really do encourage religious people to actually please sit down with the book that you're being told to believe and read the whole thing, not with a pastor or a priest telling you how to interpret it, but actually sit down with it, think about whether you think that the God that it describes is actually worth your worship at all, or if they're actually just a violent, manipulative bully. You know, that's what I recommend. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So that's all it took was just. I'm still reading parts of it,
Yeah.
but I've been joining other lives of other agnostic atheists, and you see the point where these guys will literally defend or justify the unaliving of just like innocent children. And like, well, they'll be like, well, God says so, so it's all right. I'm like, in what moral world is that acceptable? Like, it's just
Yeah.
because one guy says so that you can't prove he said it makes it all right.
Right.
Because I can just refute you, tell you that the devil told him to do it, and then you would go, no. I'm like, how would you know that? You couldn't tell the difference.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I think that you've probably come to realize too by this point, right, that there's one emotion in particular, right, that manipulates people into continuing to defend this stuff, right? Have you recognized what the primary underlying emotion is?
No, I hadn't realized it yet.
Oh,
What'd
got
that
you.
be?
Okay. Well, I'll give you a clue, right? What's the
'Cause
main
I know
what's
there's one thing that's called a backfire. It's usually called a backfire effect, where you challenge someone's beliefs and makes them stronger and defend it much harder than them actually accepting anything. It puts them
potentially
to the defensive mode.
potentially, yeah. When I'm on these live streams, I never presume that I'm going to change the mind of the person who's come up to talk to me, you know? It's very, very rare that someone comes up and engages with me the way that you did, you know? That's only happened a handful of times. I think that most of the time, the person that I'm talking to is probably going to go away and actually be even more deeply entrenched in their belief, right? And
Yeah.
the reason that I continue to do this anyway is that if it's going to cost me that one person potentially believing it a little bit harder, at least for a little while, but it got me a lot of people in here, then overall, the number of people that were potentially listening in and actually sincerely considering some of the things that I'm saying, to me, that's worth it overall. And that's a very like challenging moral problem that I've had to overcome in these lives, you know? Like I know that the chances of me getting through to someone who is confident enough in their position to come up here are really low. But if I can get the numbers in here, then just statistically speaking, my efforts are gonna, you know, my investments so far,
Yeah.
or so to speak, they're gonna pay off.
Yeah.
It's a very challenging
Yeah.
position
When I
to
first joined,
have to accept, I think. But
yeah, when I first joined, I wasn't gonna be defensive about it. I was like, okay, let me. And when I saw it, I'm like, that's an interesting topic. So I was open to talk about it. And then when you told me, it's like, well, why do you believe in it? I'm like, because it's what I was taught. That's why I believe in it. That's all I've ever known.
hmm,
And that was like the little crack that you just needed.
hmm,
Like that's the one crack you saw, and you took a straight shot at it. And you're asking, well, like, what's the point in believing in something that you were taught without actually knowing it to be true? I'm like, that's where I guess you could say I sort of fell apart because I'm like, well, I don't know because that's the only thing I ever known. That's the only thing I ever accepted. I never really had that outside influence to research anything else otherwise than what I was being taught for that many years.
yes, that's it. And it's not even just religion either. You know, like once you start going down this road and you learn a little bit of epistemology, so the branch of philosophy concerned with knowledge and truth and how to think logically, you're going to start realizing that you've probably been taught all kinds of things that are not necessarily true, but that are likely to be influencing your decision making, right? It's very interesting stuff. Like there, so many people will message me saying, "Hey, thank you so much for actually putting yourself out there and doing what you're doing. when I first came across what you were doing, I was just like furious or confused or whatever it is that they might say. But it planted a seed that I just could not remove. And now I'm so glad that I stumbled across your life. You know what I mean? And I feel the same way about the people who planted the seed for me, you know? And all of the other people out there who are doing a similar kind of thing, like there are actually a lot of us doing this kind of thing, trying to challenge religious people. When we get together and we talk to each other, we all get the same thing. Like often in the moment, people will go, "Man, this ridiculous. How can you not believe in God? Blasphemy, etc., etc." And then, down the track, people will come back to us and say, "Hey, actually, I'm actually really grateful. I don't know how long I would have continued to just believe that nonsense if no one had have pointed it out to me." And man, it might even end up one day being that you help other people break out of it. I'm not going to put that on you. I'm not going to pressure you into expecting that of yourself, but you never know, man. You could end up in this position where I am right now. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't say no to that, definitely, because I do talk with some people, but when a lot of that, they're actually just like mainly debates rather than discussions,
Yeah.
and some of them there's just no chance getting through, and
No.
you can just tell that they're just so entrenched in it that they're not gonna budge.
Yeah.
But because I've been always told like, you're not a real Christian since you left. I'm like, I was also not considered a real Christian since I was Protestant. What's your point? So either way, so even if I didn't leave it, a lot of people don't consider Protestants Christians. So I'm like, like I said, I was screwed either way.
It's really not the point, is it? I mean, the foundational claim of every denomination is that this man was God in human form and that he was killed and came back to life. The foundational claim of every denomination is completely unsubstantiated. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which denomination someone subscribes to. They all are built upon this totally unverifiable, unfalsifiable, uh, unobservable premise that no one can prove. It takes advantage of people's fear. Ultimately, if you can scare someone, it's my opinion, at the very least, that the the main emotion that is manipulated, as well as a few others, but the main emotion that is manipulated in someone who maintains religious belief is fear. The fear of hell, especially if you can indoctrinate that into a child. But the fear of hell, that'll get people defending some just crazy, crazy stuff, if you ask me. I don't know if you tuned in last night, but last night I had someone in here who repeatedly defended the slaughter of children, as commanded by God in Samuel
No.
15:3. And this is the kind of thing that
Yeah.
religion will do. It'll
I yeah, I wasn't here for that. For some reason I don't get your notifications, even though I have it set for notifications to be on.
Oh,
I
okay.
never get them. Like I'm lucky I stumbled on your live this morning.
Oh, sure. Look, I wouldn't. I'm nearly at 10,000 followers, so I wouldn't be surprised if TikTok has started maybe shadow banning me, if people have been reporting me or that kind of thing. It wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not surprised because last time we talked, not even 5 minutes, and I got banned for hate speech for no reason. You couldn't even figure out why.
yeah, that's right. That's right. That's it. And I think that when you start actually speaking out against this kind of thing, and you start actually getting some of the blowback that you start getting, you start to realize just how powerfully people have been emotionally manipulated in defense of this. Like, I'll say what I believe, excuse me, I'll say things that I believe are entirely reasonable to say. So things like, I don't believe that the slaughter of children is justifiable just because a God tells you to. I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to say, right? But I'll still get DMs from people telling me that I'm going to hell for saying that. Religion twists people's decision making and moral compass in such a way that they will defend what I believe to be some of the most reprehensible um, ethical guidelines in full sincerity.
Yeah, and that's the it looks because I'm in according to the Bible, or God's all knowing, He's omnipotent, so He knows whether it's right or wrong. They follow that moral compass instead of ours. Not I don't want to say ours, but instead of a human moral compass,
Yeah,
okay, must be okay. I'm like, but in what world would it be okay? In what world could you justify him saying it just because the book claims he's all knowing and that? Like, I can write a book that claims the exact same thing, but replace God with any other magical being, and I could ask him, "Do you believe this book to be true?" And they'll tell me no. So I'm like, what's the difference between the book I just wrote now and a book from 2,000 plus years ago that is literally no different, that had stolen from literally religions older than itself? I'm like,
it's
what's the difference
yeah.
between it? There's nothing.
The Bible has openly plagiarized several pre-existing religions in many cases. That's right. There's some original stuff in there, but there's a lot of plagiarism in there from earlier mythologies. You know, man, this has been a total pleasure. I really love catching up with you. I mean it. You know, it's really humbling. Hey, thank you so much, Em. It is really humbling to have you come back so frequently and check in and share how you're going. And I really do mean it when I say come back anytime. And honestly, man, send us a message at any time. I'm so happy to just talk things out with you at any point. I've been there, still going through it to a certain degree, and it really does help to have somewhere and someone to go to where you can just hash it out. Do you follow Chaotic Dad by any chance?
Yes, I do, but a lot of times I don't join his lives because I'm working when he has them on.
Yeah, got you. Okay,
So I try to join, but when he's on, I'm at work and I'm a delivery driver. So it's
sure.
really hard because times that I do request and hop in the box, a lot of times, by the time I get back from my drop off, I'm already back at the store by the time they accept me, or just the service is terrible since we've got hit by that hurricane.
Got you.
So it's just really hard just to get service. So a lot of times it's a pain in the RC trying to get on his lives as well.
I feel you.
Like I was just about to go to bed and then I saw you live. I'm like, well, maybe I could try and get a catch up real quick before I go to get some sleep since I got work in the afternoon.
Um, Man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I do mean it when I say that I really do think that your time is the most valuable commodity you've got. And so for you to share some, especially when you're about to go to bed, it really does mean a lot to me, dude.
No problem anytime. I definitely love coming up here, and yeah, I'll message you some more because I do got some stuff that I am interested in talking with, especially with when it comes to losing people you know and
Mm,
the whole shebang. But
yeah,
I definitely need to get some sleep, so I'll just message you about that.
for sure, man. Truly,
You have a great night, Daniel.
truly, big love. Peace out, man.
Oh yeah, agreed.
We love Brian. He's a lovely guy. He's a really nice dude. I still remember that first conversation that I had with him where he was realizing in the moment that he'd been taken for a ride. And I remember that, like, that kind of knot in my stomach. I was like, oh my God, it's happening like right in front of my eyes right now. The person that I'm speaking to, they're not going to go away and start thinking about it. They're actually thinking about it right now. It was crazy to me. Peace and love, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Um, Thank you so much to everyone who's been tapping away and gifting. Thank you so, so, so much. I'm very, very appreciative. Please just keep double tapping to boost the stream. The more likes it gets, the more people that TikTok is going to send into this live stream, the more conversations we can have, the more people we can reach, the better. That's what we want, more than anything. We just want people in the conversation listening in. Thank you so much for everyone who's in here right now. All of you, it means a lot. Maybe we'll take a couple of questions before the next guest. Couple of questions. Anything you want to know? My live with Tess was really good. Who was Tess? What was my conversation with Tess like? I can't remember. A lot of people asking about the fork. Yeah, look, changing it up. I had a spoon yesterday. People recommended I upgrade to fork, and I got to tell you, man, it's fly. It's a smooth ride. Tess kept muting me. Oh, that's right. Tess, the she seems quite young. She seems like she might be early 20s maximum, and I think that she was in the middle of kind of like taking care of some of her younger siblings as well. I had a few concerns about her situation, to be honest. She didn't seem quite all right. In all fairness, she was just not able to comprehend what I was saying. But another person who was just flat out defending some of the more horrific things in the Bible, even though she had never even read them. And I was giving her specific verses that she could go and look for herself. Uh, yeah, I agree. Her cognitive dissonance was astounding. That's a good way to put it. Use a spork as my next Mark Holder, you think? Maybe. I'm going to have to go out and buy one, though. I don't think I have one. But yeah, no, Tess was pretty intense. She um, she seemed pretty terrified to me, to be honest. She seemed really afraid of questioning the things that I was encouraging her to question. Yeah, it was interesting. That was a really interesting conversation. I'm surprised that she didn't kick me earlier, though. She did end up kicking me. I don't think she could kind of deal with it anymore, and I kind of feel bad. But yeah, I remember who you're talking about now. Yeah, I did good though. Hey, thank you, Chitty. Chitty, I'm curious about you, man. I've seen you. I've seen you on a few lives now, chiming in and chirping up. Where are you at right now? What's your position? Because you were another person who came on a little bit after Brian and started talking to me about how listening into these lives had really been helping you to actually break a few things apart and kind of dissolve some of the the confusion and some of that anguish that you had around your religion. Where are you at now? Like, what's the go? Where are you at? Dylan Price says, you and Chaotic Dad are the most chill agnostic atheists. I respect that a ton as a Christian. Hey, look, man, all I can say is that I remember what worked for me when I was still young, and there just wasn't enough of it, I don't think. I think what worked best for me was having someone patient and knowledgeable and uh, articulate to kind of just help point things out. Ah, right, I'm cowgirl. Thank you kindly. Someone to just kind of point things out to me and kind of just help me examine exactly what it was that I believe and why without like, telling me that I was stupid or something, because I really don't think religious people are stupid. What I've learned through my study of psychology and philosophy is that the human brain is very easily misled and tricked and indoctrinated, especially. And so I think that honestly, it's worth it to me to try to be the kind of person that I needed when I was younger. And what I needed was someone patient and well versed and articulate. So if you feel like you appreciate that, um, man, I really appreciate that, man. It's very humbling. Thank you for saying so. Let's have a little look see here. El Guru. Let's have a chat with the Guru. Guru,
Hey, what's going on, Danny boy?
hey, not too much, man. Thank you so much for your time, dude. I really mean it. I see no proof of an afterlife, so I think it's the most valuable thing you got. Thank you for sharing. Do you believe in a God?
No, man, I was on a live yesterday with someone that you spoke to, and they you made them change their complete perspective about Christianity, religion, and everything. When she mentioned your name, I follow you. I've been following you for a while now, and
No way.
I was able to speak with this person, and they weren't too knowledgeable about certain aspects, but you completely. The user's name is King Louis the 14th.
Oh,
I don't know if you
Pierre.
remember. Yeah, yeah. So that person, I spoke with that person, and they mentioned your name, and I just wanted to come up here and salute you, man, because you made that person like turn around and really question everything and question their whole line of thinking, man. And it's not easy to do that. And it's like the other brother said, it's the patience that you got that people really are magnetized to. It's like a magnetic attraction, where you're being patient, you're being, you know, just kind, man, and humble. Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
Man, it means so much more than I can really articulate to receive that kind of feedback, like I don't know if it's easy to tell through my terrible quality camera, but like I'm tearing up a little bit, honestly, because I just
Uh,
remember when I was younger, like looking back, how important those conversations have ended up being to me
yes.
in my life, So to get that kind of feedback, goddamn, dude. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. He's a lovely young dude too, Pierre. He's smart too. He's one of the smartest kids I think I've ever spoken to in my life.
Y-
His
Yeah, 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 yeah.
his
We
knowledge
had
of
a deep
history is
conversation.
bonkers.
Yes, yes.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Hey, look, thank you so much, man.
Danny, thanks for having me up. I know you want the smoke, and we all want the smoke. I'll be in the comments, listening.
Hey, thank you
Yeah,
for your
yeah,
patronage, man. It means so much to me to have people who say they've been around for a while and they've kind of been, checking back in and everything. It's very cool to me. I can hardly believe it. I've been doing it for 8 months and it's still a bit of a, like, a bit
yeah.
surreal sometimes. So cool to have you, man.
Thanks, Danny. Take care.
Legend. Ah, you guys. It's always a pleasure. It really is. NPC says, I don't mean to ruin the moment, but holding a fork as a mic is wild. Man, I'm just a wild kind of guy. I, I, here's my, this is the one that I had yesterday. It was a spoon. I'm kind of like developing a little collection of novelty mics, I suppose. I'm open to suggestions. What should I use as a microphone next time? What should I use as a microphone next time? You tell me. Maybe I'll do a poll later. Yeah, this is why I do it. This is exactly why I do it. This is crazy. The feedback like that really does genuinely get me emotional. Dylan, can you hear me?
Oh yes, sorry, I'm playing Rocket League. What's up,
For
man?
sure. For sure, man.
So we debated pretty much everything in the books. I, also, I want to say the time that you joined that one guy's live stream and like I was like a co-host. I'm sorry that he booted you. I don't I don't think that you should have been in booted. But I mean, people are weird, I guess.
Which
But
which
I
live
don't
was
think that I've
this?
ever asked you these questions before. So, two of my things at like as a Christian that I have, because like every single person is like every single person is skeptic about something, right? Whether you
Yes.
believe in God or not.
Yes.
My like two biggest things that like keep me away from I guess, but like fully believing in like evolution or like a like similar theory like that
Mm.
is I just do not understand how like life comes from like non-life,
Sure,
which
sure.
like at the time we have a possible explanation for, but it's not as people say 100%
Mm.
concrete proof. So like that is
That's
like
right.
one, and then my other thing is I just do not understand how like atoms and the like beginning of time can like create such a complex DNA system and like allow us to have consciousness. I also
Yeah.
don't understand how like Earth is the only planet in the in the entire universe that we have discovered so far that has life, such as like humans. Like there's just like so many questions that like I have as a Christian that people think that Christians just like do not think critically at all. I mean, like people do
No.
think critically. It's
Yes.
just we just believe in a different type of thing when like it
Yes.
comes to the origins of life and like other things like that.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
but like I am curious what your thoughts are with well, I would say that like my like biggest skepticism is definitely like life from like non-life, and like I just like I will never understand that because like there's not a answer to that. Now granted, I do fill in the gaps with like God, but to me, God is something that is a little bit more like a little bit more credible than, let's say, Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. You know, it's not just this like made up tale. There like is some historical evidence for, and then majority of it is basically, do you believe in the Bible or not? And for me, I believe in the Bible, but like I'm never going to use the Bible as evidence in like these kind of debates because like it's going to go nowhere, you know?
Got you. Wait, there's a lot to unpack in what you just said, and I kind of wish that I had been
Yeah,
taking
for sure.
notes the way that I used to, because there's some really important points that you brought up. That's a nice one, Daniel. You're always the most distracting person in the comment section. Everything that you just said, I have a response for, and I just hope that I remember everything that you just said so I can give you the
Oh, you're
response
fine.
to.
And if I need to go over anything,
Yeah,
I lost, so
for
I'm
sure,
gonna
for
put it
sure.
away now.
First, I really do want to agree with you when you say that it's not true that religious people, including Christians, don't think critically. I agree. That's not true. Religious people, including Christians, do think critically. They just don't think as critically as, say, a skeptic recommends that someone should, right? Now, this is something that applies to everyone too, though. You know, the extent of one's own critical thinking skills, it goes only insofar as they've trained them, right? Critical thinking skills are literally learnt. You have to practice them. You know, no
Yeah.
one's born with them. You develop them over time, and depending on your upbringing, they're either refined and honed early on, or they're squashed or muted or corrupted, and you have to unlearn the false or faulty thinking skills that you might have been taught, and relearn how to think critically to the fullest extent, right? I agree with you, though, that religious people don't lack critical thinking skills on the whole. I don't think religious people are stupid. I don't think it makes any sense at all to think that they do. I think that religion is a perfectly reasonable conclusion to arrive at if the evidence that someone has always been presented with, excuse me, sufficiently supports that religion seeming to be reasonable in the eyes of that person. Belief is not a choice. No one can help what they believe. People are either compelled by the evidence they've been presented with up until the present moment, or they're not. But no one can choose
Yeah.
what they find convincing, you know. So I agree wholeheartedly with you on that. Regarding, you touched on something called abiogenesis, right? So abiogenesis is the name that we commonly give to the process of non-life becoming what we would define as life, right? Before we get too far into that, did you do biology at high school?
Yes, but I mean, I was not the most smartest in science class.
That's
I'll just say
fine.
that. Now, like, granted, now let me back up before I get absolutely destroyed in the comments. I do know a good bit of science, but like in high school, I was not the smartest in biology.
That's fine.
But I do know, but like I do know science, before I get absolutely destroyed in the comments.
Sure, sure. And this is the thing. There are lots of religious people, excuse me, who have successful careers in the STEM fields and even as scientists of different kinds, right? You can be religious and still recognize the the potency and the relevance of the scientific method. I think it's contradictory to, or at the very least, I think it's disingenuous to not apply the same standard to one's own belief system as you would to, whatever it is that you're paid to work on as a scientist. But that's maybe a different conversation. Not having done particularly well in high school science, that's fine. That doesn't matter. Okay. Before we
Well, I
start
mean,
the
like
conversation about
I
abiogenesis,
made a B.
man, that's really not that bad.
Sorry, yeah,
That's
yeah,
really not. That's
yeah,
honestly, that's not that bad. Um, the first thing you really need to understand is like what the definition of life is, right? What qualifies something as being a form of life in a biological sense? So when we use the word life, by definition, in the field of biology, we're talking about something that, it grows, it reproduces, it contains genetic material, etc., etc. There's a couple of criteria that it has to tick off before it qualifies as life. Every single thing, every single organism that qualifies as a living organism, it's worth recognizing that we're all made up of things that are non-living, right? Every single atom in your body and in my body is non-living, right? Alone, they don't qualify as an organism. It's when they start to assemble at an atomic level, and then at a molecular level, and then at a cellular level, that they begin to qualify as a form of life. And that includes things like bacteria and viruses, which are microscopic and singular, like single-celled. Single-celled life forms are still life forms. They still qualify because they tick off all the criteria. That doesn't mean that the things that something that is living is made of have to also be alive. Because matter itself, like subatomic matter, atomic matter, and even molecular matter, that doesn't qualify as life because it doesn't tick everything off the list of criteria. Abiogenesis is the process by which we think the first simple life forms emerged from non-living materials. Now, it is a theory in the same way that absolutely everything in science
yeah.
is a theory, right? I'm sure you've been probably learning a little bit more about this, right? In science, the word
Yes.
theory,
I mean, I hear it. Yeah.
yeah, right. In science, the word theory means something quite important. It doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means that that's what a particular body of evidence supports as being likely to be true, right? So abiogenesis is not the only theory going. It's just it's the one that's supported by the most evidence. That's why it's considered our leading theory. And that's very significant. That's very important in science, right? So, in the same way that, like, you could say that, you know, divine, or what do you call it? Intelligent design. Intelligent design is a theory. It's just not supported by very much or very good evidence.
Correct.
Whereas
Yes.
abiogenesis and evolution via natural selection and speciation and adaptation and mutation, these things are all supported by evidence. That's the big difference, you know. Abiogenesis, right down to its maybe I'll describe one of the best experiments that we've ever done that tried to illustrate this. Anyway, it's called and you can look into this yourself, the Miller-Urey experiments. Have you heard of these before?
I think I've watched it on.
Anyway, it's called and you can look into this yourself, the Miller-Urey experiments. Have you heard of these before?
I think I've watched it on YouTube,
Perhaps,
YouTube or
yeah.
Netflix. It was one of the two.
Yeah, perhaps. I'll kind of like outline it and you tell me if it sounds familiar, right? So,
I mean, like I've definitely heard of it. I mean, whether I watch it fully or not, I don't know. But I mean, I've definitely heard of it. Yes,
gotcha.
and
Well,
like I've seen it on some kind of streaming service or
right.
some kind of yeah.
Do you know what it kind of showed us? Do you know what it demonstrated?
Uh, I I've watched so many um of those things that I probably have got it mixed up with a few. So
Sure.
I probably do need I probably do need a reminder of it.
Sure, no stress. So the Miller-Urey experiments demonstrated that under the conditions of early Earth, simple uh, pre-cellular materials emerge from non-living materials, right? In the experiments, and you can repeat this yourself if you have the equipment, and that's something quite important in science, is whether something is reliably repeatable. In these experiments, a big glass, what would you call it, beaker, right? A big bulbous beaker, full of like half full of the kind of aqueous mixture for the liquid with all the particular minerals and precursor materials that were present in prehistoric Earth, when combined with the gases that were also present in prehistoric Earth, and then pressurized under the conditions that prehistoric Earth was under, they begin causing at a molecular level, and you can only observe it under a microscope, but at a molecular level, these non-living materials, these atoms and these at a molecular level, and you can only observe it under a microscope, but at a molecular level, these non-living materials, these atoms and these molecules, begin forming very simple membranes, which is the first step of creating a cell. And over time, they even begin creating self-replicating molecules, which is what contained within the cell wall. Or self-replication is a core component. It's a necessary criteria for something to classify as a form of life. Even the most simple single-celled bacteria self-replicate, and viruses, which are even smaller, right? Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Now, what we haven't observed is a cell forming, right? Because we haven't run these experiments for particularly long at a time. We've noticed that under these conditions, and they're still running experiments on this too, and the findings are continually amazing and fascinating and only ever further support abiogenesis. But we haven't watched a cell emerge from that aqueous solution as yet. But we also have terrific evidence that this planet is literally billions of years old. And when you allow for that much time to have passed, which is an amount of time that is so difficult for us to conceptualize, the likelihood of this being the process by which the very first and most simple singular-celled organisms came to be, it is far and away the best explanation that we have as to how it is that the first life forms began. And once you've got that first life form, then it just does its thing. And over billions of years, and evolution over literally hundreds, millions of generations of genetic adaptation, you get ever increasingly complex organisms emerge within different niches of the environment. And we're literally still observing that happening today. We watch evolution happening in front of us, as well as we see all of this evidence across the globe that we can date from throughout history and prehistory as well, that further fills in the overall puzzle of life on Earth. I really do encourage you to look into abiogenesis and the Miller-Urey experiments. They're going to help you understand what it is really at a molecular and a pre-cellular level was really going on all that time ago. It's fascinating stuff. What else
Yeah,
did you mention?
um,
Mention something
well, I
else.
wanted to make a point
Sure,
with
sure,
that.
sure.
Um, so I would say for me personally, and like I always bring up this point too. Um, I always like ask this to people: what if like, and like this is a what if, right? What if science and every single theory and every single experiment and everything that we call laws and theories and scientific theories is simply just ways of explaining the universe created by a ultimate ultimate being, which like I call God.
Hmm.
So like really science is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like science is the like study of the universe, correct? But like not trying to figure out how the universe, or like not trying to state how the universe came to be per
In
se, because like that would be absolutely impossible,
in a
correct?
broad in a
Or
in a
no?
broad sense, you could use it to describe the process by which we approach that goal. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I guess like what I'm saying is that like science does not, I guess, like lessen my faith, because like I think that God and science can like definitely work together. I think that somebody who is all knowing, all powerful, such as God, could like create all like every single one of these systems, which we have studied, and like in theory, God created everything to work in a process and like in a system, just like we have seasons and we have days and we have uh, and like like the sun moves in a rotation every single time, every single loop. Everything works like in a cycle, right? That's the way that I guess I view it is, as a Christian, is that to me everything is like put into place. Now again, I'm not saying that like what I'm saying is right. It's just like what I believe. Just like every other person believes something different.
Hmm.
But like that's the way that like I would view it, and like I would definitely look into that, because like again, like I am not against science at all. Like I am not somebody who says science is bad, God is good. I think that both can work together. If that makes
Okay.
sense.
Uh, I think I understand the position that you're taking. I don't think that it ultimately makes sense. However, that's because
Oh, you're fine. Yeah.
yeah, and that's ultimately because I recognize that particular line of reasoning as a pretty common line of reasoning that apologists use. And I understand the reason that someone would do that, you know. The reality is that science cannot prove the existence of anything that is not empirically observable, right? We have zero data about what it is that exists beyond the observable limits of our universe or beyond, the earliest moments in time that we can measure. We have no observations. We've got no data. We've got no. We have engaged in zero interaction with that which is outside of this universe. Is it possible that there is some kind of being beyond this universe? Of course, it's possible, but it's just as possible that there's two of them out there. It's just as possible that there are 3 of them. It's just as possible that there are 17 of them. It's just as possible that there are millions or even an infinite number of gods out there. We have no data, right? Hey, thank you so much, Conjecturing. I genuinely really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Because we have no data whatsoever,
and
we can only
and like
speculate.
I tell every single person that is what makes being a human being so cool, is that every single person has a different beliefs in like everything, and like when it comes down to this kind of conversation, this person's gonna think a little bit differently than the next person. Just like I had a conversation with Chaotic, and I was like, there's a reason why some people who are atheist or agnostic that do this thing called manifesting, which is pretty much just praying to the universe, essentially. Now, granted, some people do not believe in that because they think that it's just a bunch of crap. But some people actually truthfully believe in that.
I do.
Yeah. So I mean, and I could say that praying to a god and praying to the universe is very similar in the way that you're praying to something that is not physically or not you cannot prove manifesting, just like you cannot prove 100% God, right?
We can falsify it though. That's the interesting thing, we can experiment on the effect of manifesting in the same way that we can experiment on the effect of prayer, and in fact we have. And it's been shown repeatedly that prayer does not, prayer does not impact.
You're right.
Yeah. Prayer does not impact reality in a statistically significant way. We can show it repeatedly and reliably, and we can show the same thing of manifestation. I mean, without even necessarily having to refer to the formalized experiments that have been done that have shown that actually praying for people and telling them that they're being prayed for overall, statistically, actually leads to worse outcomes, like medically especially. We could just look anecdotally at Central Africa. Central Africa is so religious. They're praying probably harder, most of them are praying probably harder than you've ever prayed in your life for their children not to die of dysentery and diarrhea. Yet, 9 million Central African children die every year of diseases that we haven't had to worry about in the Western world for decades now. These are things that God, supposedly, if all-powerful, could... In fact, he wouldn't even have to snap his fingers. He could simply will it into reality that these illnesses and conditions no longer afflicted these children. Excuse me. There is no evidence, no conclusive or compelling evidence that prayer works at all. And in every single case that prayer seems to have worked, it can be explained by other rational, reasonable methods. Right? If someone says, "Oh, I prayed for my cancer to go into remission," there are just as many people who are not religious who don't pray, and their cancer goes into remission too. It makes no statistical difference. So when we have no statistical significance to support prayer having an effect on reality, you have to wonder, what's the point of doing it? And I might even take this just back to a theological place, right? Do you believe that God has a perfect plan?
Yes and no. Yes.
Okay.
Yes and no.
Let's
I will
just stick
say
with the yes
that
answer for the moment. We can touch on why you say no as well.
yeah.
But if
I
it
mean,
is true,
yeah,
why bother
it's very,
praying?
very complex.
If it is
It's
true,
very, very complex.
Well, the main point that I'm getting at here is that if it is true that God has a perfect plan, and especially if he is all knowing, which means that he already knows how everything is going to pan out anyway, what is the point of asking for anything in prayer? Is God going to change his perfect plan to cater for your request? If he does, then his plan wasn't perfect to begin with. He's taking suggestions and requests from mere mortals, and that doesn't make logical sense. And if he's all-knowing, the way that most people who are at least Christian or follow an Abrahamic monotheistic deity claim to,
Yeah.
then he already knows what you're going to pray for. He already knows whether he's going to say yes or no to it, and whether you did or didn't, he already decided what slew of events he was going to allow to happen anyway, or had designed and chosen to happen anyway. So there's no point to prayer either way you look at it. It doesn't make sense to pray.
I am curious. So, I have heard this case study brought up in many conversations. I'm not going to use the word debate, but there was a case study where, and it was a peer-reviewed, written by. I don't know the person, but basically, this person was they had some kind of illness, and according to the peer-reviewed article, prayer was the thing that healed that person. And according to the peer-reviewed article, prayer was the thing that healed that person. I don't know where that article came from. I just heard it from at least 5 different people in 5 different live streams. I don't know what that particular case is, but I do know that it is peer-reviewed / backed up by several scientists,
Well,
and several people.
do you really know that, or do you believe that?
No. I have looked it up, and it is that case. Like it is a peer-reviewed case.
Sure. Do you know how to tell whether or not a scientific study is reliable or not?
Well, I was told that gravity is not a law, so I don't. I guess I do not know that. No, by somebody in so. I debated somebody in a comment section, and I was saying that gravity is something that we can definitely call as fact. But then I was told that gravity is not fact. So I guess I do not understand that now.
Well, if someone told you that gravity isn't fact, that's another. You got to be careful what you just believe of people on the internet. Like gravity is fact.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is why I encourage religious people to learn a little bit about epistemology, which is the branch of philosophy concerned with how to know something. So how you can actually use formal logic, deductive logic, to find out whether or not something is likely to be accurate, rather than just listening to the people on the internet that say this and then that and all these other contradictory
Yeah.
things. Learning how to actually engage with science through a reliable epistemological framework, that's going to change the way that you see what you believe from the ground up. It's really, really important. This is not just for Christians. This is for anyone who's religious. Anyone who is currently under the impression that faith means anything. Faith is a completely useless epistemology. Faith can semantically, the word faith, you can replace the word faith anytime that it's used with the phrase pretending to have certainty about something that you cannot have certainty about. And the sentence will still mean the same thing. I'll give you an example, right? I have faith that the person on the internet that told me gravity wasn't real was telling me the truth. I'll replace the word faith with that phrase now, all right? And listen, it means the same thing, even though I'm replacing the word. I pretend to have certainty, even though I can't actually have certainty, that the person who told me gravity wasn't real on the internet was telling the truth. You can do this with religious faith too, right? You can go, I have faith that Xenu will save me from, what is it that Scientologists believe? I can't
I don't
remember.
even know, bro.
I can't remember. I'll
Scientology is
just
something
look. I'll
else.
make it up. Scientologists made it up, so why can't I? I have faith that Xenu will save me from the Thetans. Again, I'll replace the word faith again, right? I pretend to have certainty that Xenu will save me from the Thetans, even though I can't actually have certainty about that. Faith is literally just pretending to have certainty about something that you cannot have certainty about. Faith is ultimately it's the weakest form of epistemology. Faith means nothing except for making someone feel a little bit more comfortable in a belief system that they're emotionally attached to. Faith faith does absolutely nothing to support the factual accuracy or the likelihood of something being true.
Yeah, and like I am not disagreeing with you at all. Like I'm saying, I truly 100% believe that faith is simply like I'm not a person that like says that you can 100% prove God is real, because like that would be absolutely a incorrect statement to say. Do I have faith that God is real? Do I believe God is real? Yes, because like that is what I believe is true. Now, granted, I could be wrong.
So you're an agnostic
I
Christian?
will say to yes,
Yeah,
but
that's good.
like
It's a good thing.
just like just like just like people believe in a certain no, I'm trying to say. I want to call myself agnostic Christian, just because like I guess I guess I have a bad term with agnostic. I guess like call myself agnostic.
The word agnostic
But like
has somewhat of a religious connotation to it, yes, but the word agnostic does not apply only to religious belief. Just to be clear, agnosticism has got to
okay,
do with claiming to have certainty. An agnostic is simply someone who claims not to be able to have certainty. That's a wise position to acknowledge that you're in my opinion.
okay, yeah. So like okay, I 100% believe that God is real, and like my like faith and like everything about my life, like I give everything to my faith. Can I prove that God is real? No. I guess like that is my stance. If that is a agnostic theist or a agnostic Christian, so be it.
So you
But
recognize that there's a difference between knowledge and belief.
correct.
Yeah, okay, good. That's really good. The number of people that I talk to that cannot recognize the difference between knowledge and belief, I can't. I've lost count. So it's good to know that you recognize that. That's good.
I am curious. So there's this trend going on right now and like this is going to get into my point. There's this trend going around on TikTok, and like I've seen at least 25 videos of this trend, which is basically they're like, has anybody ever experienced a like near death experiment or experience or like it was focused on like car crashes, and I've watched at least 20 videos of like personal testimonies of them seeing what they call as people that like show up, and then like they like, and then like whenever like they're asked about that person, they're like, what person? Basically in a form of an angel. Now granted, can you prove this? No. And that's where like I feel like faith is something that cannot be proven, but like, and I am a person that like truly believes in people's testimonies. And I think that is our like not our strongest belief system, or like not our strongest evidence. But what I tell every single person is, yes, some people are going to lie about what they saw. But I mean, I just do
Or
not believe that
misinterpret
every
reality.
single
Yeah.
person on the planet Earth. Wait, what? I'm sorry.
Or
Oh
just
yeah.
or
Um
just flat out misinterpret reality. Yeah, that's right. Like
yeah.
hallucination is
I
common.
mean, yeah. I mean, I just like I cannot bring myself to say that every single person that has ever had a experience is lying about their experience.
No, and I agree with you entirely on this point, right? I do not believe that everyone who's ever provided some kind of testimony of like paranormal activity or supernatural activity or something like this is lying. I think that the things that people believe that they experience really are things that they believe they experienced. In the same way that, but what we've got to recognize though is that this is the same standard of evidence that a schizophrenic can offer for the people that they see and hear during a bout of psychosis. It's the same standard of evidence that someone who's on hallucinogenic drugs can offer to support the existence of, the elves or the dragons that they're seeing when they're hallucinating. It's the same standard of evidence that someone can provide when they're saying that they saw the devil standing in the corner of their bedroom when they were having sleep paralysis. It's the same standard of evidence that anyone can provide in any other religion for any other deity as well, right? If a Hindu came to you, and remember, there are literally like hundreds of millions of Hindus,
Oh, trust me, I know. Yeah.
right? But if a Hindu came to you and told you that they had testimony of Vishnu coming to them in the middle of the night, would you believe that that was sufficient and compelling evidence of Vishnu being real?
So I'm a person that accepts every single personal experience. I would say yes, because like again, we do not know truthfully what happens after life, right?
Well, that's not quite what I
But
asked you though. Like,
oh,
what
sorry, yeah.
what I that's all right. Remember what I asked you was, do you think that that would be sufficient evidence to compel you into believing that Vishnu was real?
Oh no.
Right.
And
So
yes, and like I
if
see your
you
point. Yeah, I see yeah, I see your point. Yeah.
right to accept that standard of evidence from a Christian saying that they saw an angel or they saw Jesus or God appeared to them or something, that's to show profound bias towards a religion that you want to be real, right? The evidence is of the same standard, but you'd have to be biased towards Christianity in order to accept it from a Christian, but reject it from a Hindu.
Would you agree that every person has a personal bias towards something?
Yes, absolutely. Cognitive bias is
Okay.
inescapable. The difference being that some people have learned more about cognitive bias and have learned more about how to account for it than other people. There are so many people out there who have never even heard of cognitive bias before, let alone have any idea, of how to counteract it in their day-to-day life. A religious person is, and this includes you, it really does, and this is not a personal thing, but a religious person is someone who is explicitly biased towards uh, a standard of evidence supporting their belief system that they know they wouldn't accept from someone of a different religion. And if you care at all about avoiding hypocrisy or overcoming cognitive dissonance or achieving some kind of rational and reasonable approach to engaging with reality, then you know that you can't remain in that bias. There's going to come a time in your life where you're going to be like, I wouldn't accept this from anyone else. So why am I letting myself be so biased?
I think it comes down to like your personal beliefs, I guess. And like and just like just like there are tons of people that like do these kind of lives where they talk about what everyone wants to talk about, really, which is about gods and God. And like which God do you believe in? I think it's just such a interesting conversation. And I think having two different beliefs, you have such interesting conversations. And like that's what I live for. Like outside of obviously being a youth pastor and teaching my kids about the gospel and hanging out with my kids and pouring into my kids, like I absolutely adore that. But I think what I also adore is having intelligent intelligent conversations with people outside of my belief system, because not only does it challenge my beliefs, but also it makes a very interesting conversation. Like if you got in a room, you got a Christian, you got uh, a Hindu. What do you call people that believe in Hinduism? The
Hindus.
Hindus believe in Hinduism. Everybody.
Buddhists,
It would
Jain,
be the
Sikh.
most interesting conversation ever, because you have so many people from like so many different sides that believe in a certain thing, but ultimately at the end of the day, nobody truly knows what happens. But like every single person has that belief system because like they believe it's true, and that is what makes being a human so cool.
I think that
Um,
the important thing to recognize, though, is that someone's decision making process is informed directly by their belief system. That's a really important thing to
yeah,
consider, right? If someone believes, for example, that God came to them in a dream and told them to drown their triplets, if there's someone who subscribes to something like divine command theory and thinks that you should do what God tells you no matter what, then they will do horrific things like drown their triplets. I mean, that's just one example that I bring up pretty
that's
frequently here. You know, what you believe directly impacts what you do. And what you do doesn't just affect yourself, it affects those in your immediate vicinity. It affects everybody else that has to share the country that you vote for the leader for as well. You know, if you never examine your belief system, you could be seriously harming the people around you without even realizing it. And you might even think that you're actually doing a good thing when you are, in fact, actually doing a lot of damage. I've got to go. I've just realized what the time is.
you're
I've got to
fine.
take
Yeah.
off. However, I really do want to put this one thing to you. Hey, thank you so much, Lauren. I can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you so much. You mentioned that you're a youth pastor and you have children as well.
Correct.
Right.
No. So I've been a youth pastor for 2 years. Last year we had about 15 kids. Six of them graduated. But now we have about a solid group of like 8 to 10.
Oh, in your
And
youth
then
group.
yeah.
So they're
Sorry, I
not
probably should. Yeah.
your offspring.
No, correct.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Got you.
They
Got
are
you. Got you.
just my youth kids. Yeah.
Got you. Got you. When when you teach them about the Bible, do you ever
Mhm.
go over parts like Deuteronomy chapter 22 verses 28 to 29 or Samuel chapter 15 verse 3? Do you ever go over parts of the Bible like that, or do you avoid those parts?
So what I teach my kids is I teach them life lessons. That will help them so what I do is like at the beginning of the year I basically ask them, hey, what do you want to learn about? Some people said, I want to learn about other religions. I want to learn about logically believing God. I want to learn about how to pray better, or like how to read my Bible. Like basically, like I take their ideas and then like that's what I like teach about during the year. Last year we actually had we had 3 kids. 2 of them were atheists and 1 was agnostic. Actually in my youth group, and like that. And that was always a very, 2 of them were atheists and 1 was agnostic, actually in my youth group. And like that, and that was always a very interesting time because like it brought up so many good conversations. That was more than just me teaching. It was an actual like genuine conversation among me and my youth boys. So yeah, I mean,
Okay. Have any of them?
yes, I do like I do understand what you're saying. I mean, if they want me to talk about it, I will. I'm not afraid to talk about the harder verses in the Bible. But I've
Do you
just
know
not
the
been back.
passage I'm talking about specifically?
What's the passage?
We could go
Deuteronomy.
with Samuel, for example, Samuel chapter 15, verse 3, where Yahweh commands the Israelites to slaughter, explicitly, to slaughter the women, children, and infants of a neighboring tribe. Do you think that that is the best use of omnipotence? If God is all powerful and he has some kind of beef or some kind of problem with a particular tribe, do you think that the best use of his infinite power is to command the slaughter of women, children, and infants?
I would say no, but and this is going to be a total cop out, and I totally understand that. But I cannot say, like I cannot put myself as God because like I am not God, and like I know that is a total cop
You don't
out,
have to.
and I
No,
fully
that's fine. No.
understand that.
I'm just actually really, I'm really glad that you just said no. The number of Christians that come on here and say yes would blow your mind. Do you realize that you've actually done something quite, uh, you've done something quite profound here, though? Like, you've just acknowledged in front of 150 people that you don't agree with God's morality. You don't agree
Well,
with the
let me read
choices that God has made.
the full chapter to your fast.
You've just demonstrated that you can choose for yourself what it is that you think is appropriate and inappropriate without relying on God. That's a significant thing to acknowledge, man.
But I mean, I will say that like, how should I word this? Like, again, let me phrase this by saying that I know like this is a cop out, okay?
Should you
But
say it then?
people put God.
Just before you say it, if you know that it's a cop out, before you say it, should you say it then?
No, because like I think it truthfully happens a lot. I think that people put God in a box. Would you agree with that?
I'm
And
I'm
they try
totally open.
to.
I'm totally open to not putting God in a box if he's real. I'm totally open to saying
Okay.
I understand nothing about this God. Um, I still am very comfortable saying though I think that that is a disgusting thing to command anyone to do. Even if I say I have no idea what God's intentions are, what his plan
And
is,
like I
or
know
anything,
that like
I'm very, very comfortable saying if that's what God chooses to do with his omnipotence, I have zero respect for him. I will never worship a God who has ever commanded anything like that. I'm
because
very
like so
comfortable
like
saying that.
I am a person like what like when it comes to the Noah arc story, right? I fully reason with like God destroying the whole entire universe, because I mean, like, every single person was literally doing everything in their power to go against God.
Do you think the only
And I think
solution was to just drown everyone, including the children?
so. Okay, so let me ask you a question that is more. I mean, it's like a scenario, but what if the world was taken over by zombies one day? How would you get rid of all the zombies in the world?
Well, I
Would
probably
you
wouldn't.
destroy the whole entire universe?
I probably wouldn't be able to, right? I'd probably just see how
I
well I
mean,
could defend
yeah.
myself, how well I could fortify a couple of buildings, and grow some crops and develop a bit of a community as best I could. I'm not sure.
What I guess, like, what I'm going with that is that I can kind of, and again, like, I am a human being that like is obviously not a god. So like, I do not have the mindset of, or even if like God has a mindset, um, to put myself in that situation.
You
If
don't have to
like
be a
if that
god.
makes any sense at all.
You don't have to be a god to have your own opinion of morality. You know, that you disagree with the morality of probably other gods, right? Like, that there are other gods who have killed children in civilizations, mythologies too, right? And
Yes, but I've
you
not
probably
done my
disagree
research
with
on
them,
them.
right? You probably disagree with someone who tried to defend their god killing children as a punishment or something, right? So if you will acknowledge that you don't think that that's appropriate use of power, but then you will defend the Christian God when the Christian God decides to slaughter children, you're being like profoundly biased again. Do you recognize that?
Well, I mean, you could use the same argument with, I mean, like, everyone dies eventually, right? So I mean, like, God created human beings to die, right?
I
Ultimately.
disagree. I don't think God is even likely to be real. I don't think something that
Yeah,
isn't
well,
likely to
yeah,
be real can create
like
anything.
I'm saying, like, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I really want to put this out there to you. What I have come to recognize is that a lot of Christians will defend horrific things in the Bible because they're afraid of challenging the God that they think is real. Because the punishment for doing so is eternal damnation. You're sent to hell. There is no proof of hell. You can challenge whatever it is that you want. There is no proof that you will be punished for challenging this violent, manipulative, cruel dictator of a God that the Bible describes. That you don't have to be afraid of challenging this because there's no proof that it's even real in the first place. The fear that you've had drilled into you, potentially from childhood, I don't think that you have to feel it.
So let so I do not believe in God based on fear. I don't want that to be the reason that people think that I believe in God.
Do you think hell exists?
Um, yes, but I believe hell exists for. So okay, let me explain hell and heaven. There's a person that said this very beautifully. It's that hell. I mean, hell is described in the Bible, but again, I mean, like just like we don't know truthfully what every single word means, like, in the Bible, and like every single year, scholars that call themselves scholars are trying to interpret it to the best of their ability. We will truthfully never know what like every single word means down to every single page, because we were not there at the time of the original manuscript, right? What I tell people is this: is that hell is a place that. So okay, so in life, right? Obviously, one of the things that people will just d- d- decide on if they ever get get spoken to about God is whether they want to put their whole entire life and their trust in God, or if they want to reject God and not believe in Him. And whenever you die, and this is what I believe. Again, I could be wrong. I think that there's a place for people that believe in God and want to be with God in the afterlife, and there's also a place where people who want to reject God and do not believe in God, and you will live eternity separated from God.
I'll put it to you like this.
Does that make sense or no?
I've heard all of this doctrine many times, yes. I'll put it to you like this. If Yahweh, of the thousands of gods that various communities have invented over the course of human history, if Yahweh turns out to be the one that's real, if on Judgment Day I come face to face with him, I will confidently tell him to send me to hell. Because I want nothing to do
Okay.
with him. He is a murderous, cruel, violent, lazy dictator who uses his omnipotence poorly, to say the least, and has made terrible decision after terrible decision for the well-being of his creation over and over in the Bible. Yahweh is the bad guy. He is the bad guy. If real, he is the villain. I want nothing to do with Yahweh. If he is real, I want nothing to do with him. He has zero respect from me. He will never have any worship from me. I will teach as many children as I can to view acts of genocide. I will teach as many children as I can to view acts of genocide, infanticide, misogyny as acts of evil. Yahweh has contempt for his creation, and the Bible says it over and over and over.
So would
Man,
you?
I'm so sorry, but
Yeah, sorry.
I really
Yeah,
do have to
I
go.
mean, yeah, you're fine. I guess like we can dive into this next time, but
Sure, sure,
like
sure.
I think that like to me, two of the biggest passages in the Bible that show show God's character is the Sermon on the Mount and the fruits of the Spirit. I think that those two things are one of the key things to focus on whenever you're trying to mold your walk with God. Does it make sense?
The Sermon
I
on the
think
Mount is
that
not a historical event, though, my friend. This is the thing. The Sermon on the Mount is almost definitely plagiarized from previous religions. And the fruits of the Spirit, any religious person can claim that people show fruits of the Spirit regarding what it is that any other God that anyone believes in around the globe does for them in their life. It doesn't make any sense to believe in Christianity being exclusively true when the same standards of evidence can be applied to support any of the other thousands of religions from throughout history and around the globe.
I mean, I guess that's where I don't know. I mean that, and that's where like my like personal belief comes in. But like I have thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Um,
Likewise.
and I'm
Likewise.
not cherry picking. That's just two verses that like I could highlight. I mean, I could talk about more. But I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, like that would take hours upon hours upon hours. But yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully, you see my point of view. Hopefully,
I do.
hopefully you see my point of view. Hopefully,
I do. I
um,
used to share it. Yeah,
maybe,
I used to share it, you know.
um,
I'm glad
Yeah.
that people helped me to deconstruct it and realize it for what it was. But I do understand it. Yes. Yeah. Man, I agree
But
with
yeah,
you that it's been a pleasure. You've been nothing but polite to me, and I really, like I said, as I see no proof of an afterlife, I really do believe that every moment of this life that we have is the most valuable thing that we'll ever have. So thank you so much for sharing some of yours with us. I'm incredibly grateful, man.
thanks, man.
Peace and love. I'll see you next time, man. I really do appreciate James. Sorry, Dylan. It was really lovely to talk to him. Thank you so much, Dylan. I'm very grateful. As I mentioned, you were articulate. You were patient with me. You were sincere. You were open. It means a lot, man. I think that everyone who was here really appreciated you sharing that. Thank you so much. I have to say, it continues to confound me just how consistently religious people will defend the most depraved acts of violence for the sake of wanting their God to think that they agree with them, or, you know, it's just so heartbreaking to me. Anyway, 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 it's been real. It's been so real. It's been fully real, in my opinion. Thank you so much to every single one of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, sure, chaotic dad, go for it. If you got a question, ask real quick. I got you. I got you. I got to take off. Like I literally have to. I have to go. I actually have a commitment that I made, which I need to go and meet. What is your question? I'd love to answer it as best I could. Oh, yep. Okay. Cool. What's up?
Hello, my friend.
Hello.
I
Hello.
saw. I see some of the frustration on your face, and I get it. Dylan's a great guy.
Lovely
He,
dude.
lovely guy, respectful. So this is my question: Is it as frustrating? Is it even more frustrating when you see somebody who is so respectful
Yes.
and at least seems to be trying to grasp what you're saying, but yet, like it almost feels like a wolf in sheep's clothing type situation? Do you
Yep.
ever feel that way?
Almost. You know.
And Dylan, you know you and I are buds, man. This is not an insult to you or anything. I'm just, yeah, just something we deal with all the time.
I just don't think that they fully comprehend those who defend passages like Samuel 15:3 or
Right.
Deuteronomy 22, 28, 29, or any number of other nightmarish passages from the Bible. I just don't think that they really fully comprehend what they're implying.
Right.
I just don't think they really fully grasp the implications of divine command theory.
Right.
I don't think they've really fully recognized just how profoundly impactful of a role that kind of thinking has had on history,
Right.
and the way that entire nations have been manipulated at a time. Uh, Entire peoples have been decimated, wiped from the face of the earth, and in horrific ways as well. I just,
Well, and
I
that's the
wish
thing
that
is
they could
being able
recognize
to.
that the the true horror of what it is that they're actually saying. But
Well, and that's the thing I struggle with is that it's like they get so close and they're very respectful and they're not like lashing back out, and to not be able to see something as simple as, or a couple things like with the flood, it's supposed to eradicate all the sinful people, right? But as soon as they get off the boat, the daughters are basically graping the dad,
yeah, right.
and like it's almost immediate. So did it actually not work? Did it not fulfill its job? Did he miss somebody, or even just like,
Yeah, right.
and like it's almost immediate. So did it actually not work? Did it not fulfill its job? Did he miss somebody, or even just like why not? I mean, you and I have talked about this before. Why not Thanos? Dust the bad people instead of flood.
Flooding. Well, it just seems that
And
the ways that he uses his omnipotence is it's just so arbitrary.
it's
If
yeah,
anyone in
yeah,
here were omnipotent, I'm sure that given half a moment, they could think of a pretty long list of better options than just genocide and flooding and
right,
plagues and things like this. It's just such a poor use of such power.
right.
Total
Well,
abuse of power.
I I don't want to keep you up, and although I can tell you this, we in the chat will probably be looking forward to which next utensil will be your microphone.
Hey, I'm taking recommendations. I'm always open to recommendations. Send me a DM,
I already
or
told you that the tuning fork is your way to go, and
I,
that seems like it would be appropriate.
I quite like that. I do mean it though. Send me a DM or chuck something in the comments. I'll see what I can use as my microphone next time too.
Uh,
It's been a
oh,
real treat. I've really loved how
only
many fork puns
yeah.
have popped up. That's
Oh
been
my
really
gosh,
fun.
it's been a spork. Yes, a spork would be good. That's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, if I can find one.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. No, I appreciate it. I know you got to get to bed.
Mm.
And so much love to you. Uh, Take care of yourself. Take care. I hope your family's doing well. So,
Likewise, man. I mean that. Thanks so much. If
yeah,
anyone in
yeah.
here is looking to kind of stay in the zone and keep on this kind of subject matter, please, please follow our friend Daniel. He's the loveliest of the lovely. He will,
Oh,
he will help you.
stop it.
He'll help you
Stop it.
deconstruct in just the gentlest of ways. Um, we got a lot of time for Daniel here on the channel. He's a good friend of the channel. Um,
Hey,
so either follow
and
or
this
stick
guy,
around
this
until he
guy.
pops up. Either way,
Yeah, I'll be popping up in about 20, 15 minutes or so.
awesome. Either way, I've got to take off. But it's been
Yeah.
so real. Thank you so much, Daniel, for your time and energy, and thank you so much for everyone else in the live. Please follow. I'm going for 10K. I'm like a couple of hundred off 10K. I feel like I feel like I would have truly made it if I get 10K. You know what I mean? Um, But yeah, just thank you so much for any patronage. Any time that you have shared with me at all, tapping away, listening in, commenting, particularly those who've been gifting or subscribing, thank you so, so much. Any financial support that any of you offer, I'm going to try and just pump straight back into the stream. I want to start making a bit more content. I need to get some software and a desktop that I can actually edit together some proper like reaction content, and some proper like maybe even get like some proper interviews with other big creators and that kind of thing. Um, any money that anyone gifts or pays through subscription, I'm just going to be pumping it straight back into this. So uh, that's where it's going. So thank you so much to anyone. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, and yes, I have been uploading to YouTube too. I've started up a YouTube channel, so please jump over into my bio. And I think if you hit the Instagram link, it'll give you the option to go to either my Instagram or my YouTube. Oh, excuse me. Um, I'm up to like 41 subscribers on YouTube. Woo! The big numbers. But I've mostly been uploading there for my subscribers because I know that not everyone can make every single live stream that I do. But I've had a lot of people ask me if I would just upload somewhere so that people can like catch up or catch the part of the stream that they didn't get to see or whatever. So yeah, please follow over on YouTube. It means a ton. And if you can be bothered at all, dropping a comment or a like, that means a lot in the eyes of the YouTube algorithm. Anything at all. You could just comment saying something like 2 plus 2 equals 5. I don't care, whatever. YouTube loves that stuff, so it'd mean a lot. Either way, I'm out of here. One more time, people. For the people up the back, I don't think there's going to be an afterlife, which means that this time that you have right now, right here, being you, for however long it is that you're going to be you, I think it's all you've got. I think it's all any of us have got. As such, I think it's the most valuable thing that any of us have ever or will ever have. Is your time. Thank you so much for sharing some of your time with me. I hope it proves to be an investment and not just an expenditure. Please enjoy the rest of your day, your night, your week, your month, your year, your decade, your century, your millennia. Who knows how long you might be here for? However long you are here for, please just soak it up. Just squeeze it for all it's worth. I love you all. I'll give you the 10-second countdown too, hey? 10 seconds to tap as much as we can. Oh, we're almost at 40k likes. Let's see if we can crack 40k. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Thank you. Thank you very much. 5, 4, 3. Woo! Look at that. 2, 1. Yowza! Look at that. That's like 2k in 10 seconds.